Get ready.
Live the movies at Universal Studios, Florida. No one makes believe like we do.
Universal Studios Florida opened in 1990 following the success of both the Universal Studios Tram Tour in Hollywood, which helped fund this park, and Walt Disney World nearby in Orlando. Universal saw an opportunity to build their own theme park to rival Walt Disney World in the Orlando area. With the market already present and the success of entertainment tourism in America, everything had fallen into place for Universal to expand. They began planning what would become Universal Orlando Resort as we know it today. Like any park, a lot of planning and conceptualizing went into this project. Some of it saw the light of day, other bits didn't. In this list, we uncover some of the concepts that never made it past the concept phase. This video will focus just on the history of Universal Studios Florida, with an Islands of Adventure video coming soon. Some are from the opening plans and others are projects that were scrapped along the way. Budget constraints or a better idea or brand being favoured were typical reasons for rides becoming unbuilt. Get ready. Number 6. Studio Tour. Let's start at the very beginning. A working production courtyard with an integrated studios tram tour was the original plan for Universal Studios Florida. Building this in Florida would give them much more room than they had in Hollywood. This would have given them more creativity and freedom to make the tour itself more exciting. The concepts included a King Kong encounter and an earthquake section in the Hollywood Hills. It has been said that Disney began building MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios, a studio-themed park, in order to thwart the buzz of Universal bringing a studio-based park to the east coast of America. Disney revealed their plans for MGM Studios in 1985, which included a studio tram tour. This forced Universal to reconsider their plans, and their studio tour was ultimately scrapped. Disney's version included a very similar earthquake-style section. It's no coincidence that Michael Eisner, CEO of the Disney company at the time of MGM Studios being built, was previously the CEO of Paramount Studios. Universal had presented their concept art to Paramount Studios some years earlier in an attempt to lure investors. Nonetheless, Universal broke up the concept of the studio tram tour into individual attractions. This saw the likes of Confrontation, Earthquake the Ride and Jaws all presented on opening day. The park did have a studio tram tour around its various studio lots and theme park. However, this only lasted 5 years until 1995 and did not include any of the original plans for more attraction-based sections. The closest thing to the original concept was probably the now-defunct Earthquake Ride. The Unbuilt studio tour still had a huge influence on the history of Universal Studios Florida. Number 5. Jurassic Park River Adventure. While this was eventually built next door in Islands of Adventure in 1999, the original concept was very different. With the novel coming out in 1990 and Steven Spielberg making the film that would eventually be released in 1993, the plan was for Universal to unveil an attraction to coincide with the film's release. Spielberg already had a heavy hand in the development of this park, with Jaws, E.T. and Back to the Future all having attractions in the park. The concept phase of this attraction had begun before the film had even begun production. They were simply working from the novel and the screenplay. The attraction had a different layout to the one that we know today. There would be an aviary section featuring an encounter with a pterodactyl. A scene featuring a live actor being attacked by raptors was also planned. It was set to be located where Men in Black Alien Attack is today. At the time, this area was home to the Swamp Thing set and would ultimately become home to the Back to the Future locomotive display in 1994, until it was moved in 1998 to make room for Men in Black Alien Attack. Part of this train can still be seen between the area of E.T. Adventure and Springfield. With Islands of Adventure already in the works, it was decided that the Jurassic Park intellectual property would be saved for a full land in this new park. This meant that it naturally could not open as soon as they would have liked. But it did allow them to take inspiration from the film and gave them more years of planning. Jurassic Park River Adventure is still one of our favourite rides, so we're not complaining. The ride opened in Universal Studios Hollywood in 1996, 3 years before it opened in Islands of Adventure. Number 4. Casper the Friendly Ghost. It's no secret that Universal needed more rides that would attract younger guests and families. The park was filled with attractions that appealed mostly to adults. Following the success of the film of Casper in 1995, the brand seemed like a good fit for the park. Steven Spielberg produced the film, meaning the rights were attainable and it could offer some child-friendly entertainment. The initial idea was to have guests enter a vehicle that was a 4-poster bed and control the bed using a candelabra at the foot of the bed, exploring a haunted house. Another concept was to have suspended cars that would hang over the set. an idea also planned for the never-built European Universal Studios park. Imagine the vehicle system of Peter Pan's flight merged with Haunted Mansion. It's not clear whether this ride would have featured in Universal Studios Florida or Islands of Adventure next door, which at the time was set to become a cartoon-based park. Either way, it never made it out of the idea room and remains an unbuilt part of the history of Universal Studios Florida. Number 3. The Stephen King ride. Universal's target audience was, and still is, clearly a bit older than its rivals in Disney. While Disney appeals to families, Universal wants to appeal to teenagers and adults. Horror has long been part of cinema history, and Universal wanted to honour this in a way that Disney never could. In the 1990s, Stephen King was at the top of his game, and still is if you ask me. As arguably one of the greatest writers of all time, many of his novels have been turned into famous films. At the time of this conceptual phase, Carrie and The Shining had been huge hits a decade earlier, and Pet Sematary was a big hit in 1989, followed by Misery and It in 1990. This might be our favourite piece of the history of Universal Studios Florida. The idea for the Stephen King Dark Ride was to combine all the elements of his universe into one horror-filled attraction. John Murdy was in charge of this project. He would later go on to become creative director of Halloween Horror Nights, which makes sense in hindsight. One of the famous concepts for this ride was the false finish. Guests would pull into a station and hear a typical safety message. Then, an elevator door would open and unleash a tidal wave of blood towards the guests, similar to the scene from The Shining. Pennywise from It would reveal himself as the ride operator before guests narrowly escaped to the real finish. While this project was never greenlit, elements of the attraction have made their way to the park. John Murdy served as creative director for Revenge of the Mummy and utilised the false finish here instead. The Shining would also become a house at the Halloween Horror Nights in 2017, 2 decades later. Given the popularity of Halloween Horror Nights, it's likely that a permanent horror-based attraction would be a huge hit with Universal fans. This might be the best ride never built in Universal Studios Florida. Number 2. The Terminator 2 coaster. When the park opened in 1990, the Hollywood area of the park had just one attraction in the horror makeup show. Terminator 2 was a massive success in 1991. Set in Los Angeles, it was very suitable IP for a new ride based in this area of the park. Universal had worked with Landmark Entertainment to develop Confrontation, and were also working with them on Jurassic Park River Adventure and Islands of Adventure in the mid-90s. Universal asked them to develop concepts for an attraction based on Terminator 2 for this area of the park. They came back with 3 ideas: a roller coaster, a walk-through area, and a 4D cinema that would eventually be built. The roller coaster would take you through a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, mirroring the adrenaline and high speed of the film. It was ultimately decided against, likely due to the lack of space available in the area, with the ET Adventure show building being right behind this location. Terminator 2 3D, a 4D theatre show featuring live actors and stunt performances, would open in April of 1996. This would be a staple of the park until its closing in October 2017. It is still in operation in Universal Studios Japan. The walk-through area would have also taken place in a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles. It was likely decided against, as a 4D theatre show would have been more impressive and easier to operate. Number 1. The Apollo 13 coaster. With Islands of Adventure set to open in 1999, a decision was made that a new ride would be needed in Universal Studios Florida in order to maintain interest and avoid losing guests to its new neighbour. With the Jurassic Park plans moved to Islands of Adventure, the place where Men in Black Alien Attack currently resides was earmarked for a new roller coaster. This would be themed to the 1995 Apollo 13 film, based on the real lunar mission in 1970. The roller coaster was to be set in a recreation of Kennedy Space Center's massive vehicle assembly building. Guests would board a lunar landing vehicle and fly around the moon. The concept went as far as having patents filed, but hit stumbling blocks over cost and how long it would take to construct. It was then pitched as an outdoor coaster to save construction time. This raised noise complaints with nearby residential areas. This combination of problems meant that this coaster would forever remain only a concept in the history of Universal Studios Florida. Ultimately, nothing would open in Universal Studios Florida to coincide with the opening of Islands of Adventure in May of 1999. Woody Woodpecker's Nuthouse coaster would open a month earlier in April. Men in Black Alien Attack would open almost a full year later in April of 2000, in the place of where the Apollo 13 coaster was due to be built. Check out our Hidden Gems in Universal Studios Florida video, as well as Hidden Gems and Islands of Adventure on screen now. That's our Unbuilt history of Universal Studios Florida. Now you're ready. Visit our website at thefirstdrop.net to read more articles like this one, and let us know in the comments below which of these non-existent attractions you would like to ride most. Don't forget to subscribe for new weekly content.